who has joined us. It's a great day. We're starting with a very good topic as well for today's webinar, specifically designed for young professionals and for students who are about to stand up and stand out in the marketing as well. A little bit of introduction of myself. I'm Syed Fahad Ali Hashmi, and I'm working in the capacity of TSP, leading the sector of data analytics and AI back at Veraqor and back at the Korea, Kazakhstan. And today we're having this session. So without further ado, I'm very excited to see what's coming ahead at the end of the session. What you will be expecting to see is to have an understanding of the AI itself, see how the AI is actually doing things in real world, and see what are the top use cases. Actually, what we want to do is shift your mindset from thinking how AI is supposed to be approached. And quite honestly, since professionals like me are very well equipped with what the customers want, what the client is looking for, what the innovation is all about, and what the future is holding, I suppose that there is a difference between understanding or reading the theory of the AI and specifically knowing what the market is asking for. And given all the experience and the stories that we accumulate, we should better be able to actually put it through in a form of roadmap, in form of seeing some samples as to how we should start thinking about it and what's coming for us in the future. And then we'll move towards the ethical consideration of the AI as well, because it's very important to know how to use a tool. It could be anything. So for example, there are things that we are seeing already with video generation, with photo generation, and a lot of generational AI coming up, generative AI coming up, and the use of it would actually very much be dependent on how a person is navigating through their own ethics. So we'll touch base on that as well. And then there's a little bit of bonus at the end because that's probably the most exciting part. And I've kept it at the end strategically so that you would be better be able to take a lot of benefit from there once we go through of what we're about to see industry wise and the use cases as well. So first and foremost, the question that I want you to just think about in your hand is that how many of you think that AI is actually going to replace your future jobs? Of course, I'm not able to see you, but you should be able to, like just bring something in your head that maybe you are thinking that it will replace your job in the future. Maybe you're not. But then I want you to think about how many of you think that AI would actually help to land you your future job. Now that's a shift in the thinking and the paradigm as well, because you've seen a lot of AI leaders in the field say that AI is not probably going to be replacing the jobs. It's actually going to be replacing the people who do not know how to use AI to their own benefit. Now, specifically, that is the mindset shift that we are going to be working on today and we are gathered about here today. So let's start. First and foremost, we want to know what specifically is AI. It's very simple. Anything that a person or a human is able to do with their own intelligence, if you transfer it to a set of machines or a set of system, and that is able to actually modularly or in the wholesome sector able to do that, we call it artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence can actually sense, think, or act. In sensing thing, it could be natural language, audio or speech, machine versioning. If you're talking about thinking, it could be knowledge and representation, planning and scheduling. And in form of acting, it could be robotics. Usually you see a lot of videos, for example, from Iran Open, where a lot of robots are actually playing soccer game and they actually compete against each other as well. A lot of AI is helping us in the Tesla factories these days. I believe you all know about the Elon Musk trifecta that is coming along with Neuralink, with Tesla and the Boring company that he's running. A lot of AI is being used over there as well. But at the end of the foundational layer is basically about the statistics, the optimization, the models, the science, the theories that we use. Probably you would all be knowing about the game theory as well. At the end of the day, those are the things that are making the AI work and bringing it from the theory all the way to the practical side. And that's how you can wrap your mind around that AI is pretty much specifically very simple. You don't have to use complex tools. You don't have to go into a lot of depth in order to know how things are working. You've seen There's a video out on the YouTube, which we'll probably share with you later down the road as well, where the Chat GPT owner or the founder is actually creating GPTs within 4 minutes, and he's showcasing it to everyone how to create your own GPT. And I believe everybody's using the GPT today. So the first sensing and the thinking is already happening around us a lot of times. Now, we have seen that the AI technology is already here. It's all over the news, it's all over ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that, the real estate agents, or a lot of other people are saying that we can't even imagine how to work now. And I'm a student of computer science, I'm a student of market as well. And I would tell you that even the students would say that without the generative AI that's coming in, it would be very difficult to actually move forward at the speed that we're trying to move. And that's the beauty of it, that something that is as disruptive as AI itself comes into the market, it just seeps into all kinds of zones, all kind of workspaces that we do indulge ourselves in. And that's where we want to be our mentality about. That's what we want to be thinking about. Not just about the big use cases, it's also about the specific granular use cases as to how we could be making something so small that is used on a daily basis from like for a million of people, and then take that shift in the mindset all the way to the entrepreneurial or enterprise or SMB level, which is a smaller medium level business level. How are these big giants conglomerates going to be using those facilities as well? Well, just to keep in a little bit number, how they're actually using it, 270% growth of enterprise AI over the past 4 years. That's what we have seen. 90% of technology executives say need to adopt the AI and ML as well. Very strong momentum. Some of the numbers from the big corporates coming in as well. We see that KPMG, they have used the AI in 80% cost reduction by streamlining the transcript. How many times do you call the call center and start feeling like this is something that should be just automated? And if there is a natural voice calling in, which is happening in GPT right now, you could just be talking to it in transcription format. It just comes through. It just becomes natural, and it just becomes something that the humans are not supposed to be wasting their time in. And it could have a lot more patience than any human out there. NHS, it's automating the process. 54 million prescriptions per month automatically processed. Think about the time and think about the delivery turnaround time that NHS is able to provide it to its own patients. Then improving the customer service as well. Like IHC is using 60% reduction in search time for customer queries. Going ahead, what are some of the business top use cases? Now we're getting the creative juices flowing around, and we're thinking as to specifically how we could be thinking about using the AI in order to get there, or what are the professionals doing in the market? And I want you to understand all of this and wrap your mind around this, because once we get into the market, these are the things that you will start talking about. What are the biggest business concerns, the problems that we're talking about? It's first and foremost productivity, which is lagging. Everybody wants more productive hours or more productivity per second, per minute. Then there is need for process automation, because there are a lot of things which are redundant. People don't want to be doing things which could be happening all by themselves. For example, there are voicemail messages that we've been listening on the calls for a very, very long time now. Those have been automated because that was something that humans thought could be automated. And we're not going to be stopping over there, as we just talked about NHS as well, which is automating the process of the prescriptions from the patients. The document processing comes along with it. And the automation is not just going to stop anywhere. It's just going to go all the way till we do not have to even lift up our finger. Degraded customer experience. You want to make virtual assistants better, call analytics, call summarization, intelligent contact centers, or having the creativity to actually manage all of those things as well, creating content in real time and consuming it. So we have seen it, a lot of designer friends of mine or designer colleagues of ours, or even the clients are using generative AI to actually have the pictures of the videos coming out, and in a format and in a way that wasn't possible even with manual recording or manual creation themselves. And that is something that we're just seeing in everyday realm. So some of the use cases we're going to be talking about right now are going to be around these basic business problems or the business needs. And we'll see how these are helping the market right now. But before we actually delve into it, we're going to be recognizing what are the few building blocks to get to that final stage, how we leverage Azure AI to get to the solution. It's divided in three parts: applied AI services, cognitive services, and the ML platform itself. Starting from all the way bottom, ML platform is just a form of orchestration or organizing things, right? There's a flow to it. There are a few tools where you could be writing the notebooks where you pull in all different kind of aggregates in within there. And it's the thinking brain or the platform that has been given in order to do the machine learning itself. But how exactly would you be doing it? Let's move a step ahead, which is the cognitive services. The cognitive services are basically the cognitive services. And the word itself tells us that it's going to be something related to cognitive, which is the vision, speech, language, or thinking, or decisioning, and even the senses at times. These are pre-built models, and we could be using them to our solution right away. For example, when we're talking about the vision, if you have to figure out specifically, let's talk about a restaurant where there's a hazard that there could be fire, and the manager is always looking out for people following proper SOPs in order to avoid any kind of fire that could erupt. Instead of having a manager put their brain or put their time towards that kind of caretaking, you just have a camera that actually is trained on the model to recognize whenever there's a fire or whenever there is a smoke. And quite interestingly, I'm going to be showing you the actual model that we have developed in-house for the clients, and how it's working and how it's actually recognizing things. Same goes for the speech, language, decision, or the OpenAI services, which is getting very big now because OpenAI has been embedded way within. You're talking about the Copilot as well. Talking right there, there used to be Cortana that has been taken out, and there's Copilot. Everything is just happening through talking. There was a time when I was thinking when the service came in that I believe you all know about Wix. When we started making the websites used to be all kind of coding, all kind of, and it still happens. But then Wix came in and there was drag and drop. And then when there was this OpenAI service that came in, I thought, why even drag and drop? Can't I just talk to the computer and would understand me and try to build me a website as I wanted? So for example, if I say I want a website with 6 tabs and it should have palette of light blue color all around, and this is the about us page, and this is the contact us page, and these are my services, and it should just make me a website. Services like those are already coming in, and people are leveraging OpenAI and decision and language and speech specifically to get to those kind of solutions. And those are the solutions that we have to start thinking about. Let's move a step further, which is the applied AI services. Now, these are the services, these are the building blocks. They could be bot service, they could be cognitive search, they could be form recognizer, video indexers. These also have pre-built models, but you could be using them on granular basis as well. Cognitive search could be actually helping you to do a lot of search on your documentation. So for example, there are academic papers and you have to write another academic paper, which you want to submit for a journal or for some research organization. You'll have to go through all documents yourself. And it's always good to actually do your own research, but AI is not replacing you over here. With the help of cognitive search, you could just get to the part of that paper which you're researching, which you're interested in. Go straight to that. Form recognizer. We're talking about ticket submissions. We're talking about prescriptions. We're talking about contract. We're talking about RPAs. We're talking about things that can get to us to the next level where we don't have to do all the manual task, which is redundant. The bot service, the video indexer itself, like for example, the video indexer, I'm very fond of video indexer because it actually is able to recognize sentiments as well. So it would record something in the real time, or you could have your own recorded video and pass it to the video indexer. And video indexer would actually break everything in frames, extract the summarization or the transcript summarization that comes in from the video itself, and then it would tell the people how the people were feeling, or what was the feeling, or what were they actually discussing about, and were they in agreement or not, or did they have any kind of quarrel over it, or what kind of emotions were actually flowing while the conversation was happening. That is something that comes built in video indexer. Could be recognizing faces as well. So these three solid bifurcations actually give us the tool with which we can be developing anything and everything that comes to your mind. Now, let's see, with using all of these tools, what are some of the priority use cases that we could be developing? The first and foremost, there's a sector called retail, which could be Costco, Walmart, a lot of other stores, general stores, big store chains, or even places where we get our fashion stuff from, the retail in itself. A few of the use cases, one of the use cases that we're going to be discussing is the intelligent conversation agent. How does an intelligent conversation agent actually work in here as well? Now, we're going to be figuring out, so this is also a format in which we talk with the clients as well. And this is very useful for you to figure out specifically how am I going to be presenting any idea if it comes in. So one of the most sought after use cases is the intelligent conversation agent, where the conversation agent itself is intelligent enough to reply like a human itself. And you've seen it already happening in GPT. It's actually talking to you as well. It's holding real-time conversations, and you could be developing your own. Sam Altman actually showed it, doing it in 4 minutes. Or you could be, if you're doing it on the enterprise level, this is the format and this is the way that we have to go about. How do we actually go about it? The approach, let's see first and foremost, the business approach. This is the high level without any kind of tools or any kind of things that we're trying to put in, which will feel like they're too technical. We're talking about a intelligent chatbot specifically for the HR. Now, I want you to think about a company and what happens when an employee comes in. An employee comes in, they're given a few documentations of the policies of the company, and they have to figure out specifically how do we have to move about. They might have questions as well, and they might have suggestions too. Now, what are they supposed to be doing in that case? Wouldn't it be really nice if we have an agent instead of somebody who has to answer their queries one after another? So it could be one agent talking about all the different policies. It could be finance, HR. You could be talking about a client onboarding. You could be talking about the delivery management that happens over there. How do you guys make the proposals? What are the rates? All those kind of stuff and questions could be answered in a singular place. So what happens is, let's see the flow real quick. You have the employee, they have a bot, they're talking with the bot itself. We have a bot cognitive and intelligence fluent conversational agent, and the agent is actually talking with the bot. And if there is any kind of escalation, it goes to the departmental associate. So some kind of sometimes there are information which might not be explainable through the bot. And where is the bot actually getting the information from? We're feeding the data to it, the structured, unstructured data. Well, the structured data is basically what's in the database format. It could be in tabular format itself. Then the structured data, as we all know, is the videos or the pictures or any kind of media that is coming in, PDFs as well. Now that data is fed in and the model is trained on top of it. The model itself knows what kind of information we have to provide. A few sample questions are given to it as well. And at the end, it's ready to interact with the employee, and the employee can actually get to know anything and everything that is going on in the company. And the good part is that we are actually producing a feedback loop right over here, which means that all the information that it's talking about or being extracted with is being fed back to the model. So the model would know better how to answer it. As you've seen, sometimes you're talking to the GPT and it gives you some kind of information, and all of a sudden you tell it that this is not how it is. I think you're wrong, and it says, "Oh yeah, you're correct. Thank you for recognizing that," and it goes back and make changes to its own response. Now, this is not where the loop ends. It actually takes up that mistakes and figures out what do I have to tell to the person if the same question has been asked to me again. And that's a feedback loop. And at the end of the day, we always show the analytics dashboard what kind of questions were most coming in, if the answers were correct or not. There might be some kind of review system as well and a feedback system as well, in which people are getting feedback if your interaction with the bot was savvy or nice or not. This is exactly how it would look like if we were to do it in the Azure using the Azure AI. So starting, we put up the responses like the employees getting attached to it. We did talk about the bot services in the Azure AI services and bot logic. The bot service is actually orchestrating the cognition and the response that it has to give to it. It goes back to the cognition and the intelligence model that we have developed, which using language, text analytics, Q&A maker, and the personalizer for the employee that's actually corresponding to it or like talking to the model itself. And it's giving the answer back to the bot service, and the bot service in a nice UI like GPT that you've been using for all your life, as it feels like, even though it just came in a few years ago, tells you what the response is. And again, the response is coming in from the information that has been fed to it through structured and unstructured data. And it is the data factory right over here is the orchestration, like the pipelines in which the data is flowing has been fed to the cognitive model. Blob storage right here is where you actually save all the kind of data and the responses and the information that is coming in. Even the analytics on top of it is stored right in there. And the Power BI analytics is just going to be showcasing you to the end analytical reports that are coming in. And as we mentioned, that if there's any kind of problem that the bot is not able to solve, there's escalation, and you should be able to go straight up to the department associate and talk to them about any kind of a problem. This is something that has been developed by another counterpart company of ours, and it is quite working as well. So this is what the pane looks like, something that customers love, something that is actually being very, very helpful around, where we are actually doing asking about the company policies, like you can see right over here, how many annual leaves does the company provide? There are 14 annual leaves, and it's just giving you the information. This is the bot. We have given it a body as well, like a virtual body. As you can see right over here, you can do the talking as well. So once you actually ask questions, for example, can you help me with the LinkedIn profiles of my company's leadership? It actually fetches data in real time and gives it to you. Like John Doe, this is the CEO of the company. This is just a fictional company that we have been talking about. And once it's actually working in, the name of the guy is Maher, and Maher is actually talking in real time, and it's quite interchangeable according to whatever the customer is asking for, the client is asking for, whatever kind of project or setting you're working in, and we can actually talk to it. So we're using the bot cognition over here, we're using the bot logic, and we're using the speech service as well, as to see and how it's going to be picking up the information and telling us all about it. The second one, let's see something in the industry of manufacturing, which is building the resilient supply chain. Now, supply chain might look like something that is not something that we come around, but we are using supply chain everywhere. Like even if you get groceries from the store, the supply chain would be like you getting in your car, going to the grocery store, taking the grocery, putting it into your car, and bringing it back home, putting it back in the fridge. This is a bit of a supply chain example that there are events or a chain of events that's happening one after another, trying to accomplish something. And when the manufacturing companies are actually doing something like that, they very much care about how much of this stuff, production, or let's say resources or manufacturing resources, or the raw material do we need to have in order to produce or meet the demand that is going to be coming in. And the one way AI is very beneficial over here is to forecast the demand itself. Like specifically, if you're talking about, let's say, PepsiCo, there's an example that we have in this use case. How many bottles of Pepsis do you need to have for this quarter? The numbers is definitely different in summers and in winters. Winters, people might not want a lot of cold drinks, but in summer they might want it. And you have to actually have that kind of number put in, so you will be able to have those kind of resources planned way ahead of time so you could meet that expectation. How do you actually go about it? Let's see the first picture, which is again the business overview as we talk about. First and foremost, obviously, there's any kind of model, you have to give it a set of information where it's going to be picking it up from. Usually we call it historical baggage. All the data that you have stored in the past years, you have to feed it to the model. It could be customer data, spending, social, demographic data, structure, and structure doesn't matter. In-store data, product inventory that you've used before or you are figuring out to use later down the road as well. and feed it to the model itself. Once that happens, Once that actually happens, you have to use the actual sales data to improve the models that are current figures that are coming in. You put in the demand forecasting model, a model that you have trained, and it could be a very simple demand forecasting model, some of the pre-trained models that are very much available across the market on open source as well, and the Microsoft even provides the pre-trained models to make things simpler because we are using reusable components over and over again. The model itself anticipates the product demand and let's say notifies the manufacturing unit that these are the numbers that you have to manufacture the products for. This gives the signals to direct the inventory to the right geography, which means that, for example, if there are summers going on in Kazakhstan and you need a lot of raw material over there, the bottles, the mixing, the syrup, and everything, that's where you have to actually store it, and that's where you have to actually increase it because there are summers coming in over there. And that notification goes from manufacturing unit to the right geography area, and then that gets located inventory into the separate streams of distribution to all the stores. Then you have to actually get in the actual sales data and pick it up, package it up, and bring it back to the model. As you can see, the loop is closing right over here. The model actually takes in all the data from the separate shops, separate general stores, and tries to relearn from it. Did I make any mistake? Were my numbers correct? Was my anticipation to the point? Did I meet the target or not? All of these questions, all of these things are actually embedded in the model itself, so it would have self-assessment going on. And as we move forward, there is thing in models that is called confidence rate. As high as the confidence rate of the model, the better it is because it's that level on which it can make accurate predictions. And as we keep using it over and over again, it starts giving us the right kind of numbers. And this is how you meet the demand forecasting. It might look very simple, and it is actually very simple as well, but the product or the impact that it generates, it's amazing. This is how it would look like if you were to put it in the Azure terms or the components that we could be using in order to get there. Is starting all the way from the left, we have the behavioral or the demographic data that has been fed right into the system, the storage system. For over here, we're using the Azure Data Lake Storage, ADLS Gen 2. And for orchestration, we're definitely using the Azure Data Factory. All the other in-store activity is coming in from the IoT, which is, for example, could be the edge device with camera. Now, edge device with the camera is a camera that has the AI capacity, in order to put it in simpler terms. The hub is actually taking up all the information from the camera and providing it straight up back to our system right over here in the ADLS Gen 2. The product inventory is coming from Azure Cosmos DB. This is another kind of database with distributed data, and it's bringing in data from probably across the globe, specifically how the product inventory is managed. That data is being fed right here into the Synapse Analytics, and that stream is going. Synapse Analytics is basically the brains or the main powerhouse, which is actually using everything. It's basically used to be SQL Server, serverless SQLs, but now it has been renamed to Synapse, and something that has come afterwards is Microsoft Fabric, which is going to be looking at in a little while as well. That goes back to the custom Azure ML demand forecasting model, where it's training the data, validating it if it's right or not, deploying the model itself, and then monitoring it if the confidence rate is going to be down or up, and what are the factors that are actually making or impacting the confidence rate itself. That is provided to the Azure ML, which is orchestrating, again, the platform that we talked about, and that is anticipating the demand, gives the signals to the manufacturing unit. The manufacturing unit disregards it all the way to the geolocation that it has to go to, for which we use specifically Azure Maps. And then the next step is to locate the inventory within each store. Then we move to the final sales point. And the sales point is telling us how many things or how many product has been sold and if the demand has been met or not. The same data is being fed right back into the model, and the model is regenerating it and recalculating it and reassessing itself, trying to see if the confidence could go up or if it's bringing the confidence rate high down. And based on that, it's going to be generating new demand forecasting. And this is how we actually make the supply chains very resilient, very sought after use case into the market, something our brain juices should be flowing around, something to give you to think along the line as to how the market is actually operating. Then there is a little bit of of example as to how we have built it in-house. For example, this pane right over here gives you the inventory performance, warehouse operating expense, or the shipping time. We're going to go into the inventory performance itself. You see how this dashboard gives you a lot of executive level information, which is telling you about the orders, the returns, the inventory quantity trends, and it's telling you about the data that is stored in separate warehouses. It's giving you the countries that you're operating in, or the products or the categories that you should be operating in, the cost of goods sold by sales and channel. And you see a nifty button, excuse me, nifty button right over here, which says forecasting. Let's see what the forecasting actually tells us. Here we go. So what's happening over here, as we mentioned, that in order for any kind of model to recognize or realize what the forecast is going to be like, it has to understand and churn all and figure out all the information from the past information, which again we call historical baggage. With the historical baggage that it has right over here, starting from the January 2018 all the way to January 2021, it has trained the model to figure out what kind of uptrend there would be, or what kind of demand we would need in order to meet that kind of demand coming in, and what kind of planning do we need to have. You see, there's a little bit of uptrend. It's moving slightly up, even though there are a lot of ups and downs. So there are two things that it has to forecast in terms of demand itself. It's figuring out if it's going to go down or go up monthly or seasonally, and what is the linear trend that we are seeing over here. And you could see that this little gray part, this is the forecast. It's for the future. Now we actually did it back in January 2021, or kind of before that as well. And so these are the dates that we see right over now. And this gray part is the forecast that is telling you that the uptrend is still going to go above, and the fluctuations are such and such. Based on these values, and I made sure when I was taking the screenshot that I actually put my cursor right over here. I put the cursor right at the end, and you can see that it's telling us that the forecast is 44,607 units, that the stock level that we need to have in order to fulfill the demand. And the upper bound is 49,000, which is like the most it can get to. And the lower bound is 39,000, which is the least demand that we're actually expecting. So go somewhere in the middle so you don't lose a lot of inventory in saving cost, or you don't actually go under inventory levels so you cannot even meet the demand, and there might be wrong customer experiences, bad customer experiences going on. So you see how the demand forecasting actually helps a lot of retailers or the manufacturers out there to figure out specifically how they should be handling their next batch. Now comes, let's move ourselves to another industry, which is the manufacturing industry. And some of the priority use cases over there are predictive maintenance, knowing when the machinery is actually going to be bad or going to fall out. Automatic quality inspections, remote monitoring, like how you're actually remote controlling your let's say television. You want to be remote controlling big things from your own control room. It could be cameras, operating the cameras. It could be operating big milling machines, or it could be operating a big manufacturing unit which has a lot of actions coming in chains one after another. Transforming the workspace, or creating, as we talked about, a supply chain as well. And then the transforming your workspace as well. We talked about the intelligent conversation agent, which we did in retail as well. A lot of use cases are actually overlapping in many of the industries as well. So let's see one of the use case in the manufacturing, which is building more agile factories and predictive maintenance. This is very important for folks that are working specifically in industries that have a lot of machinery going on, and the repairs could be very, very costly. The downtime, there's a term that the industry folks keep using about, it's the downtime, like how much time has the company or the factory not operated for. And this would actually impact the KPIs, or the key performance indicators that they're going after, in order to showcase that they have been very profitable, they have been very productive. In order to figure out all of that stuff, they have predictive maintenance. They want to know when a part is, for example, in simpler terms, when a part is going to go bad. And before it goes bad, they want to be making fix at it so that there are no fire hazards, there are no extra overhead costs, there's no downtime, there's no loss of productivity. That's the point that they're trying to make with predictive maintenance. How do we actually go about it? This might look a lot of handful, but if we take a like 30 seconds to figure out what's going on, it becomes very simple. First and foremost, every time and all the time when we're talking about modeling, when we're talking about figuring out specifically what's going to happen, like forecasting, prediction, anytime you hear those kind of words, we have to know that we're talking about seeing the trends, and the trends are always seen on historical data. This is the stuff that we're using right over here. Sensor data, which is the data coming in straight up from the machineries that we are using right now, that is being used in real time. History data, which is the historical baggage. Maintenance data, and then the ERP planning data and the MES or the operations data that is coming in. Most of it is real-time data, except for the history data. We ingest it using the real-time streaming. We use the Azure Synapse Analytics, which is the analytical and the data querying platform at like a big scale, which is the as it mentioned right over here, petabyte scale, to rapidly deliver insights across your global factories at blazing speed. And once we actually have it, we just churn it out, as you can see right on the right side of the screen, that it's used to analyze the data, figure out PREP and experiment and deploy models, right, using that data that you have actually cleaned and maintained for the predictive maintenance itself. You embed those predictive models using the ML platform that we actually saw in the third or fourth slide. And then we embed the cognitive intelligence as to what's going to go bad, what needs help, where should you be, what's going to be the highest risk. And we're going to be seeing something that we have developed in a little while as well, right after this. And let's see that how it's going to be looking like. Oh, before that, this is the actual architecture in the terms of what kind of Azure components we could be using. So again, starting from the left, these are always going to be the parts of the sources where the ingestion is happening from, which is the manufacturing system for the real-time data or the historical baggage, and the IoT devices and sensors for the actual real-time data, telling you about if a machinery is going hot, just like in your car, there are IoT sensors as well. Like you have the water, what kind of water level you have, if the car's engine is hot or not, and it's usually in the middle between the hot and cold. These are all kind of sensors which are being used in the industries as well. And that's the data that we're actually trying to get in, put into the system, and do calculations based on those factors that are coming in to figure out if the machine is going to go bad. There's a lot of predictive maintenance happening in the cars as well as we use it today, the modern day cars. And we're trying to replicate it for big industries. So this is how we could be thinking about it in very common terms or like easier terms. Right after that, let's look at something that has been developed in terms of predictive maintenance. This is specifically for oil pumping, like an oil drilling or oil extracting company where this oil pump is being used. And this is a digital twin. So it's a replica of the actual pump that is working. And in real terms, if you were to see the dashboard, this would actually be working, and you could see the animation in real time going on, how much oil is coming in, this cylindrical part going up, the spindle moving around. And you can see that it tells you, alerts you that product defect rate spike has happened, or there's a compliance alert, or there's some quality degradation that's going on. It tells you the temperature. These are all the real time figures or the IoT figures that we're getting, the wheel acceleration, the overview, what kind of machine vibration is going on. This right over here is a remote monitoring, as you could say, where you could start the machine or stop it or reset the fault or have the camera chime in to figure out what's going on or see things in real time. And you right over here, you see the predictive maintenance alert on the right corner bottom, which says that replace the speed controller within 7 days. It's doing a recommendation. Why do you want to do it? Because there is a risk, and the risk is fire hazard. And the fire hazard is actually going to be something that you don't want to have, because it's going to increase the cost. So you might want to replace the speed controller. And this is the kind of stuff that we're looking for. Once the management that is responsible for this gets the scheduling request or the recommendation, they should move along, change the speed controller so that they could stop the fire happening. If the fire happened, obviously the insurance would be hit. Obviously, it could defect and harm the people who are working over there. It could also destroy the apparatus, so the material around that specific part, which is going to be bad. So this is how predictive maintenance actually solves us. Something that comes along with it is safety and risk. It tells you, like, there are a lot of things that you could be doing about. There is anomaly detection on the telemetry data. Once you have the system placed in, there's a lot of things that you could be working with. It tells you now you have the data as to what happens in different things, incidents that are happening across the factory. Where are the most incidents happening? Do we need to have better predictive maintenance or safety and risk management over there? It's telling you what kind of source, like conveyors, you are actually breaking out a lot, or is the floor, is the ladders, is the metal that we're using, is the roofs or the machinery that's actually causing the problem. So once you have this kind of data coming in, your decision making is better. And this is what we want to do. Have data driven decisions. That's what we use a lot in the industry as well. Have data driven decisions. This is an executive dashboard that could be telling us specifically what's happening in a lot of time. We see a predictive maintenance safety pane right over here, real-time fields and sentiment analytics right over here, operation analytics, something that the CEOs, the CFOs, or CTOs want to see, or the floor manager want to see a quick overview. And definitely inshallah, when you go into the market and start talking about a lot of actual use cases, this is what would come up a lot, where people are asking about where's the big picture. Here's the big picture. The last one for the industrial use case is the healthcare, where we're talking about the claims management and automation. Like the first one we did talk about, where the prescription, the NHS part, where the prescription was actually being automated. This is something that is happening even right now through our phones. You could be taking a picture of anything and you ask GPT if what is this, and you could be asking a lot of questions about it. Well, in healthcare, as you can see, there are prescriptions which is actually very hard to be read as well. So even the normal chat GPT gives up on it sometimes, because it's unable to actually read the writing of the doctors. And that's a that's a practice that doctors actually follow quite a lot around the world. But the model that has been trained for that would be able to annotate the text with semantic markup and put up the marked up text into the investigation claims knowledge mining session, where it's going to be pick up all the information that is needed and figure out if this specific claim or prescription is even supposed to be going through our system or not, or if there is any kind of inaccuracy, and that has to be taken care of as well. And this is a quick example as to how the forms are getting picked up. I also want to showcase this to you in a little while, where we see how the document intelligence is actually figuring out in real time, putting the boxes around what is text, what is picture. See, it did not take the picture of Microsoft, like the logo, but it picked up the words. And that's how the document intelligence or the parser is actually figuring out what kind of data to pick up. It picks it up, pulls it in different contexts, in different boxes and different headings, and gives you a field result that can definitely be used in any kind of analytics down the road. It could be used in parsing. It could be used in figuring out how many numbers of similar prescriptions have you received, how many claims have you received in a certain way, and anything and everything that comes in your mind. Once you have the power of the data, the assessment becomes super easy. Also gives you the results and the code. The code is specifically like how did we actually extract it, and that code could be used anywhere else as well. I mean, Microsoft is really, really helpful and simple around those kind of terms, as we have found while working with it for more than a decade now. Now, something very exciting I want to show you is the vision, which is game changing, specifically in our term. Let's see a few examples. The first thing, motor vehicle safety. Like, I think that's happening in Tesla's built in, but this is something that we did for one of our clients where we stored the cameras and there are a few sensors and we were all powering it up through Raspberry Pi, small processors that are going straight up into the ECU of the car or the truck, where we're seeing if the driver is alert or not. So we're looking for the eyes slouching and, like, if the driver is actually sleeping while they're driving. And if they are, then we would just pick up those kind of tickers and, like the symptoms that the driver is actually showcasing, and let them know that if they need to rest a bit or not. Right. So this is something that could be used in with the advent and the invention of Tesla that just came in, and the innovation that, Mr. Elon Musk has put in. We are very, very well equipped with those kind of things on a very commercial basis, and it's become very easy to actually understand that. The second is, just for the sake of example, the vision AI that is working in oil and gas industry, like spills and leaks, smokes and fire, PPE detection, right? You could be figuring out specifically if the labor is wearing the right kind of gear or not, or you want to figure out if there is a fire going on somewhere, and the model would recognize and figure out the fire, or if there are spills and leaks that are happening, or if there's somebody who's walking into restricted zones. For example, you could mark a zone right over here, and somebody's walking in, they would figure out that the person should not be walking in there, and going to be notifying to the right people or the manager of the floor. Suspicious activity as well. If there are any intruders, you could figure out that this person does not look like an employee, and there has to be some kind of alert going to the security management that we have an intruder on our space and they need to be taken care of. Medical assistance slip and fall detection as well, like somebody falling out, it will actually detect that they've fallen, and then next thing you know, that is, there has to be help for them right away. And this is very important, specifically around people in working in industrial zone or construction zones, where people are working on at a height or working with difficult things or machinery. You could be picking all of that up. Again, the analytics, once you have the data, you could be putting it up in any kind of dashboard. Over here, what we see is the West analytics, like how many times that compliance was actually not compliant, and which compliance was supposed to, was most, you would say, adhered to or ignored, as it would show you right here, non-compliance and the compliance for the safety mask, safety vest, or the total compliance going on as well. This is very important when it comes to industrial use cases or the manufacturing use case or the construction use cases, because these things are closely watched and many times legally binded as well, that these have to be taken care of, and the companies have a big penalties coming in. And most importantly, we have to safeguard all the human lives that are working with us. And so solutions like these are actually the ones that change the world for better. So hope that actually gives a little bit of semblance as to where things are moving. Now, we did talk about in the very beginning about the quick ethical AI principles. Microsoft actually puts it in around 6 boxes, which is the privacy and security. I think that goes without saying. Inclusiveness, so it's not harmful to a certain sect, certain group of people. Accountability, so a lot of time I believe that we do forget that even though we are behind a screen and just using a system, it's still us who have to be accountable for our own actions, right? And the way we are actually using the AI. And it's happening quite a lot now that we have seen some deep fakes going around. This is the best example that I could be giving out, that we do have seen deep fakes of politicians or stars or even normal people going around, and that is something that is not okay. And soon there is going to be a specific governance cells and cybercrime cells that are going to be formed around, which actually ensure correct accountability and privacy and the security format. But on our own side as well, this is something that we always have to take care and think about in our mind before we try to use any kind of things that are imitating our own intelligence. Then there is transparency, specifically how that is being used, what kind of data is being used. There's fairness, and then there's reliability and safety, that if I'm going to be using something, so for example, if somebody says, I'm going to be using your model to detect the fires at at our factory, and it's not a reliable solution, and it's not recognizing the smoke, only recognizing the fire, then it's not something that's very useful. So we have to test it all the way before the user can actually use it, make it acceptable in the market. And it's not just about the product getting floated, it's about the after service, it's about the product actually working to make lives easier. And I did mention Microsoft Fabric in the beginning, right? So Microsoft Fabric is something that I would recommend that everybody gets their hands dirty with, because this is the most recent revolution besides agentic AI that Microsoft has brought in. So everything in a singular place, software as a service, making things super, super easy. Specifically, this is for the enterprise or the SMB level management and data. It's a bit costly as well. It's not for, I wouldn't say just for the personal use, it's basically for the enterprise use. But once we enter into the market, this is something that you will see getting used in every other industry, in every other company, because it's actually bringing up everything in a singular place. What do we need in order to make an analytical engine work? Ingest the data, compute it, store it, and then showcase it, right? And instead of using different tools, Microsoft Fabric actually allows us to do it in a singular place. That's the magic of it, right? So I won't go very much deep into it. If anybody wants to, like figure out what Microsoft Fabric is, there's a lot of material out there. Just type it in. And if you want a one-on-one session as well down the road, that is something that we could also figure out, and we would be very much happy to actually help in that sector as well. Some of the reasons why we consider Microsoft Fabric consolidation, as I mentioned, that instead of using different tools, bring everything in a singular platform, use shortcuts. There is a lot of agility to it. Has cost effectiveness, specifically for the enterprise level, because using different tools will put up a lot of cost. But if are using a singular one, then it's less costly. Copilot definitely making things easier, faster, works like a magic. Instead of doing a lot of things yourself, you just have to tell the Copilot to do it for you. Then there's the analytical, or the layer where you expose the data, which is the Power BI, real time, quick. And then there is efficiency, because it's software as a service rather than platform as a service. So you don't have to stitch a lot of tools, a lot of services. It comes easy. So you could just start using something, and it would just charge you at the end of the month, rather than you actually starting from the scratch, trying to build it in a way that you have to give its configuration. You have to start deploying it. You have to select the location. You have to select the SKUs. You have to select the compute units. Now you do not. You just got to start using it. And at the end of the day, it's going to let you the usage that you have made. So the efficiency has definitely increased. Since we are a lot of students and early professionals over here, there's a bit of an assignment that I want discuss, that we want to explore the Azure AI Foundry. Now, Azure AI Foundry has been announced a bit while ago by Microsoft, where everything exciting has been put in. So you may have your work, or you may have your school subscription, or Microsoft subscription, where you could just go and try the Azure AI Foundry. It actually gives you a lot of services, just like a playground. So you could be figuring out how the AI search is working, how the agent service is working, how the content safety actually goes about. You could just be uploading a lot of stuff over there. A lot of things that ChatGPT would actually teach you as well. But AI Foundry is the more refined and more professional version of it, where you can actually build things just for fun, do a lot of evaluations over there, and how the SDKs are actually put out there. Extensive documentation as well out there. It's very self-explanatory, no courses, nothing needed for long hours. Even if you go right now to Azure AI Foundry, there would be a lot of interesting stuff that we could be talking about, that you would be seeing. And do message us back about whatever you see, so that we can learn from your experience as well. And if there are any questions, we would very much be able to answer those as well. And coming to questions, let's talk about your thoughts and questions now, after what we have seen and what we have discussed just right now. So I would request that any questions, any thoughts, please share. think there's something in the chat. Of course, you're most welcome, Mr. Abik. We are very happy to provide you this session, and it's our we're grateful. It's amazing to always connect to the community and figure out what's going on and discuss the new innovations that are coming in. And if there are no questions, then it means that the session was very, very clear, or the session was very, very not clear. But whatever the case is, we are very happy to hear back from you guys. Maybe there is another comment. I'll check it out. Nope. But yes, go ahead, Mr. Abik. You have one question. Please type it in and I can read it and then answer it as well. I'm not sure if I can hear the question. I would request if you're speaking, then yeah, okay. Okay, so they mentioned that I've worked in several international companies for now, including PMI, KPMG, and Alstom. However, no one used Azure in their workspace. Is the technology not widely used for now? That's a very good question. So, quite honestly, we've seen a lot of companies not using Azure because obviously Azure is not the only thing that is usable or available out there. There are a lot of other things. There's Google Cloud, and we have AWS that are amazing, amazing, and they're doing a lot of good work out there. I would say that it basically depends on what kind of technology the company has been using for a while, or who approached them first and got their step into the door. And once that is done, these big enterprises usually buy credits in advance. And when they do have those credits in advance, it's basically that they're bound to actually working with them because they have gotten a lot of discount on the usage because they have bought a lot of credits in advance. And so once you actually go about telling them about something that is better than the other, there's one blocker that actually stops them from going about. But Azure Microsoft, I can assure you, is being used widely, as I just mentioned, that Heathrow Airport, I did not mention it actually, but I'm just going to mention it right now, that Heathrow Airport has automated their security using Azure completely. That's the biggest airport, busiest airport in the world, and from London. And I mentioned the PepsiCo as well. They were able to do the demand forecasting through that. There is a big oil and gas industry brand called Chevron that has been using the Azure as well for a lot of their workloads around the world. Big companies like Walmart, Walgreen, Sam's Club, they're also using Azure on a big firm. So it's basically that it's very widely used, but as you mentioned, KPMG, you've worked in KPMG. KPMG actually has used Azure as well, and they have used it, and it might be that they might be using it in a certain sector, and that's not the sector that you were in. But I wouldn't never discount the other competitive technologies that are available, AWS, Google Cloud, and they're doing great stuff out there. And basically, at the end of the day, even the Microsoft actually shakes hands with these companies to produce new innovation. So I would say that whatever actually suits best, go with that. At the end of the day, it basically depends on what kind of environment you're most comfortable with, whether it's Microsoft, Google, AWS, or anything else that is available out there. Hope I answered the question. You're most welcome, Mr. Abik, and I hope that I'm able to actually see you guys again. And inshallah, we look forward to the next session that's even going to be better. Please do leave us your comments and any question, and we'll get back to you. Thank you and have a great day. Take care of yourself.